One day, after a long day of work teaching at the school, Fox decided to clear his mind by visiting a small park in the city and walking on the walking track. Not many people are there in the afternoon, and because of the quiet environment, it gives Fox a nice way to calm his mind. The park is also less often visited due to its small size and lack of things to do compared to the much larger parks in the city. For a while, Fox was having a peaceful stroll. That is until he heard babies crying from the opposite side of the track. He looked over to where the crying was coming from and spotted a cloaked figure staring down at a baby lying on the ground wrapped in cloth. Fox, feeling deeply concerned for the baby, yells, "Hey! What are you doing to that baby?" The mysterious person then looks at Fox. Through the cloak's darkness, the only thing that can be seen are glowing yellow eyes. The mysterious cloaked person then disappears. Fox has many thoughts going through his head at this point. He didn't see anyone on the track when he was walking, and he doesn't know if he should go where the baby is due to the suspicious nature of everything. Semi-frightened and concerned for the well-being of the baby, Fox then yells, "Did you just seriously leave your kid behind? Oh my gosh, if you don't come back now, I'm calling the damn police!" There's no response from anywhere. Only the sounds of the city and the crying baby dangerously close to the pond in the center of the track. Fox looks everywhere around the park but cannot see anybody else there. Fox then speaks to himself and says, "Just came here to blow off some steam and now I got an abandoned baby on my hands. Oh, great." With no one else around to help, Fox decides to take matters into his own hands and pick up the baby. Fox then uses magic to warp close to where the baby is. Getting close, Fox cautiously approaches and looks around. Seeing nothing that looks suspicious, Fox then picks up the baby. Trying to calm it down, Fox speaks to the baby and says, Hey kid, it's gonna be okay, you're safe now." The baby seems to calm down a bit. Fox then takes a look at the baby to make sure that it's not hurt. Inspecting the baby, Fox realizes that it's completely made out of water, yet has a solid surface. Fox also notices, despite the baby being made out of water, the wrapping that it's in is completely dry. He also notices that it has glowing yellow eyes, much like the cloaked figure that disappeared. Fox takes this as definitive proof that the baby has to be related to whoever left it behind. After finishing inspecting the baby, Fox then continues to try calming the baby down. Eventually, the baby falls asleep in his arms. Seeing as everything is fine now, Fox finally decides to call the police. However, before he does so, he hears a mysterious voice. The voice speaks and says, "Throw her into the pond." Fox is startled. He looks around again to see if anyone is around, but can't find anyone. Fox then yells, "Hey, if you're that cloaked bastard again, you better piss off! I'm not letting this baby get hurt!" The mysterious voice then speaks again, saying, "I guess I'll just have to make you then. That abomination will not interfere with what's coming to this world." Fox then feels as though he's going through severe pain. His muscles try to move on their own, but he does his best to resist it. Fox then speaks and says, "You're not gonna make me hurt this baby." The mysterious voice replies, saying, "If you do not do as I command, I am going to make your life and that little girl's a living nightmare." Fox replies, saying, "I don't know who the hell you are, but this is my body and I make my own decisions. I just came here to blow off some fucking stress, not to throw a goddamn baby in a pond and have some mysterious force try to control me. I'm tired. It's been a fucking long day. I didn't need somebody fucking interacting with me on goddamn break time." Suddenly, Fox regains full control of himself. The mysterious voice then speaks again and slowly fades out, saying, "Have it your way, Fox. My powers may be losing their effect on you, but I still have the whole world at my disposal." Fox then yells, replying, "Yeah, that's fucking right! You better goddamn piss off!" Fox then breathes heavily to calm down and to regain his composure. Whatever happened to him made him extremely tired physically as well. Fox then walks over to the park bench to sit down and rest. He looks at the baby and is surprised to see that it's still asleep despite everything. Fox speaks to the sleeping baby and says, "Man, you must be a heavy sleeper. How did you stay asleep through all that?" Fox then speaks to himself, saying, "What the actual hell is happening today? I swear, I'm not gonna do anything but sleep when I get home. First I gotta get this baby to safety, though. Looks like for once my anger management issues seem to help me out." Kerfox then pulls his phone out of his pocket to call the police. He proceeds to tell them everything that happened. After finishing the call, he waits for them to arrive. While waiting, Kerfox stares down at the baby. It would occasionally move, but otherwise, it just stayed asleep. It clearly felt safe around Kerfox. Observing all of this, Kerfox speaks, saying, "Heh, it's definitely latched onto me. It's gonna be kinda sad to see it go to an orphanage, but I'm not in any position to be a parent. My schedule's already busy enough as is." Kerfox continues to sit down and watch the baby. After a lot of time passes, the police finally arrive to the park. A Blue Jay sheriff named Burdock, along with 2 other policemen, greet Kerfox. Burdock speaks to Kerfox and says, "Looks like trying to clear your mind today didn't go so well today, huh, pal?" I'm just picking around with you, Kerfox. Kerfox replies, saying, "Well, I'm certainly surprised you're here, Burdock." Burdock then speaks and says, "Well, I mean, of course. I mean, when you hear a report about your friend finding an abandoned baby and nearly getting possessed, yeah, of course I'd want to check it out. Speaking of which, men, go and get the security tapes and scan for any paranormal activity. We gotta figure out what happened here." The policemen then go off to do as they're ordered. Kerfox then speaks and says, "Thank goodness we actually have a competent police force here." Burdock replies, saying, "World's crazy place, Kerfox. Literally anything's possible. Hopefully the magic that you teach isn't going to your head, though." Kerfox replies, saying, "Burdock, I promise you, I'm not crazy." Burdock replies, saying, "I'm just picking around with you again, Kerfox. I wish I could learn magic. At least then healing skills would work on me and I'd still have my tail feathers. So, have you decided what you're going to do with the kid yet? Do you want us to, take her in, get her to an orphanage, or have you decided to take her in by yourself?" Kerfox replies, saying, "Burdock, come on now, you know I can't take care of no kids. I already have enough stress on me just trying to teach and everything, and plus I threw a hissy fit earlier just from what happened." Burdock replies to Kerfox, saying, "Well, I mean, I'd say you qualify right now. I mean, little bugger right there. It's just sleeping all in your arms and everything, feeling all comfortable." Kerfox then speaks and says, "Yeah, you definitely got a point there." Burdock continues to speak, saying, "Well, I mean, there's also the fact that, you've got a pretty nice house in the city and everything, and, it would not be a bad place for her to be raised and everything, and, it's better than you just, dropping her off at an orphanage, and then she grows up having a bunch of mental traumas from being abandoned and everything, being alone all of her life and all that." Kerfox interrupts Burdock, saying, Alright, I get it, Burdock." Burdock replies, saying, "I understand that you're busy, Kerfox, but as a person with a family myself, I mean, I'm busy a lot too, and, I just want to, see that little kid just be raised properly, and I trust you the most. I mean, I know you, man. You're not a bad person, deep down. And, there's also the fact that you have plenty of experience with kids already, just teaching and all that. I'd really hate to see it be put up to random chance whether or not she gets a good household and everything if she was at an orphanage, so that's why I'm being so darn serious about this, because, I see it all the time." Kerfox thinks deeply about what Burdock just said to him. Kerfox replies, saying, "What would I even do from here, though? I've taught kids, but I've never raised one before." Burdock then speaks and says, "Well, pretty much, as soon as we get done investigating this place, you can take her over to the GHL Medical, and they can do medical assessments and tell you everything you need to know to raise her." Kerfox replies, saying, "I see. Well, I guess whenever that does happen, I'll get to doing that then." Kerfox and Burdock wait around and make small talk with each other while the policemen are conducting their business. Eventually, both of the policemen come back. They confirm to Burdock that they found footage of the cloaked person, and that the camera audio also picked up on the mysterious voice that was speaking to Kerfox. However, when it did so, the camera footage displayed nothing but static. Despite the weird happenings, though, they couldn't find any traces of paranormal activity. Kerfox replies to all of this, saying, "Well, I'm certainly glad all this is cleared up." Burnout then speaks to Kerfox and says, "We'll do our best to look into it, man. You go ahead and go to the GHL and, get that baby inspected and, update me whenever you get everything done and everything, because, I want to see how everything goes. See you around, dude." Kerfox replies, saying, "I'll be over there faster than you can say instant transmission." Burdock replies, saying, "Well, it seems that convincing you to take in the kid was a mistake. You're going to turn her into a complete weeb, aren't you?" Kerfox replies to Burdock, saying, "Well, I don't make fun of your interest." Burdock then speaks and says, "Well, regardless, just go ahead and get her checked out and everything, okay, bud?" Kerfox begins to go to his car, but suddenly realizes that he can't drive anywhere without a baby seat legally. Kerfox then turns back to Burdock and asks, "Hey, Burdock, you have like a spare baby seat or anything that I could use, anywhere around? I don't have one." Burdock replies, saying, "None that I can think of. I guess you're just gonna have to warp over there, Kerfox." Kerfox replies, saying, "Well, I guess I better do some shopping before stores close." Kerfox then warps to multiple stores to get things for the baby and then puts it in his house. He then warps back to his car with a newly bought baby seat. Burdock, walking into the parking area on the side of the street, speaks to Kerfox and says, "Huh, you just really do love driving that car, don't you, bud?" Kerfox replies, saying, "I may can use magic to warp around and stuff, but I'm never going to abandon my car. And besides, I had to get several things for the baby as well." "Wait a second, why are you still here?" Burdock replies, saying, "I just kind of figured you'd be back. See you later, dude." Kerfox replies to Burdock, saying, "See you later, man." They both wave their goodbyes, and Kerfox drives over to GHL Medical. During the drive there, the baby begins to wake up and starts crying. Kerfox, trying to calm her down, then speaks and says, "There's no reason to panic, it's just a car. Don't worry, I'm still here with you." Despite this, the baby continues to cry. Kerfox then begins to wonder if he really does have what it takes to take care of this baby. He's dealt with his fair share of crying kids, but never someone this young. In another attempt to calm down the baby, Kerfox plays a very soothing melody from an anime opening on his radio in his car. To his surprise, the baby actually does begin to calm down. Seeing this, Kerfox speaks to the baby girl and says, "Oh, I see you like this." However, upon hearing Kerfox's voice, the baby then starts to cry again. She really wants to be held by Kerfox. Kerfox then speaks and says, "Hey, now, I know you're scared back there, but I can't hold you right now. I'm driving. I gotta get you to the medical facility." Despite Kerfox's words, the baby still continues to cry. Utterly defeated and unable to find a way to calm the baby down, Kerfox continues to drive to the medical facility while the baby is crying. Eventually, he arrives and parks in the parking lot. Kerfox then takes the baby out of the car. As soon as he picked her up, she stopped crying. Kerfox then speaks and says, "What am I getting myself into?" Kerfox takes the baby inside of the medical facility and gets checked in at the front desk. He then waits in the waiting room with the baby. After a while, several medical staff approach him. One of the doctors speaks and says, "All right, Mr. Kerfox, this should only take a couple hours for the medical assessment. I guess while you're in here, you can read some magazines, watch the TV and everything. After the medical assessment, we're going to have you fill out some legal papers, just certifying that she is now your daughter and you are now her caretaker." Kerfox replies, saying, "Just be warned, she really doesn't like being separated from me." The doctor replies, saying, "We've handled our fair share of crying babies, nothing to worry about." Kerfox then speaks and says, "Well, if you say so, but don't say I didn't warn you." Sure enough, as soon as Kerfox is about to hand over the baby starts to cry. The doctor, now holding the baby, then speaks and says, "She does look to be a rowdy one, but it's nothing we can't handle like we mentioned before. We'll be back in a couple hours." The doctors then leave out of the waiting room with the baby. Kerfox then sits down and calls the school telling them that he'll be late coming in tomorrow. He then falls asleep in his chair. Because of how exhausted he was, he sleeps for a very long time. Far more than just a couple hours. Eventually, Kerfox wakes back up. He checks his time on his phone and it's currently 2 in the morning. Kerfox is very surprised to see this. He then walks over to the reception desk to figure out what's going on. Before he can get a single word out, the reception desk worker speaks to him and says, "It appears that you have finally awoken." Kerfox replies asking, "Hey, is there any way I can check up, see what's all happening, because this is more than just a couple hours from what the doctors have told me?" The reception desk worker then speaks and says, "I'm very aware about what's going on, but I just didn't want to wake you." Kerfox replies saying, Did something bad happen?" The reception desk worker then speaks and says, "That's information I can't quite reveal yet. However, if you do continue to wait, there will be somebody there to eventually greet you and tell you everything that you need to know. Kerfox replies, saying, "What do you mean keep waiting? I've been waiting for multiple hours, far more than multiple hours by this point." The reception desk worker then speaks and says, "No need to cause a scene, Kerfox. Just simply wait in the waiting area and soon you will meet with somebody." Kerfox begins to feel really ticked off. He then speaks and says, "Oh, come on! Seriously, I got a job and everything to do. It's already enough that I was going to miss out a couple hours trying to find a babysitter for the baby once I received her, but if this keeps up, I'm not even going to have a chance to come into my job today. I have bills to pay, you know." The receptionist then speaks and says, "And true to the data that we have on you, there goes your tendency to get angry. To be completely honest, I'm surprised you can even keep a teacher job with your mental state." Kerfox then becomes extremely furious. He then speaks and says, "Hey look, just because I got anger issues doesn't mean I can't be a damn teacher. You don't have to make this personal. How do you even know I'm a teacher anyways?" The receptionist then speaks and says, "Well, you know, every citizen does have it on their record what job holding that they have, along with the criminal acts that they have committed." Kerfox remembers the one time he lashed out on somebody in public. This was before he started teaching. He was having a very bad day that day. Someone made fun of his stature, and that was the tipping point for him. He blinked out, and once he came back to his senses, he saw that the other person was gravely wounded. The observing crowd then called the police on him. Shortly after, he was arrested. From that day forth, he's always been doing his best to suppress his anger. Kerfox speaks to the reception desk worker and says, "Whatever, I'll keep waiting. It doesn't change the fact that this is complete bullshit." The reception desk worker then speaks and says, "That would be the most advisable action." The smugness of the reception desk worker only makes Kerfox more agitated. Kerfox walks back into the waiting room and sits down. He turns on the TV and continuously flips through the channels to see if anything good is on. While he's watching TV, he tries to deduce why it's taking so long but can't think of anything. He also starts to feel a bit concerned that something may have happened to the baby. Kerfox continues to watch TV for several hours. Finally, he is approached by a different doctor from before. The doctor speaks and says, "Oh, you're Mr. Kerfox, right?" Kerfox notices the doctor and replies, "Yeah, it's me. It's about time someone showed up." The doctor giggles and replies saying, "Well, you don't have to wait any longer. We do need to talk to you in private, though. Follow me." Before following the doctor, Kerfox asks, "Was there any reason why it took so long?" The doctor replies, "That information can't be discussed publicly, sir. Just follow me and I'll take you to my boss and he'll explain everything to you." Kerfox replies saying, "Oh, come on, you can at least tell me if the baby's okay." The doctor replies saying, "The baby is just fine, sir. Now please, follow me to my boss's room so he can talk to you." Kerfox replies saying, "About time somebody finally tells me something. Well, lead the way to your boss's room." The doctor replies saying, "You better be glad that you're not a soldier within our ranks, sir, because otherwise I would have smoked the living shit out of you. This may be a public health station, but you still are in a military installation, motherfucker." A bit intimidated, Kerfox decides not to say anything else and remains silent. He then follows the doctor to her boss's office. Kerfox then sits down in a chair. The doctor leaves, saying, "Have a nice day, sir." Nobody is currently there in the office, and Kerfox just sits there nervously. Eventually, an anthropomorphic roach doctor walks in. He sits down behind his desk with several papers in his hand. The roach doctor then speaks and says, "Mr. Kerfox, I have fortunate news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first?" Kerfox replies saying, Let's go with the bad news first." The roach doctor replies saying, "Mr. Kerfox, your daughter is extremely unstable and she has the potential to destroy the whole universe." Kerfox is completely confused. He feels as if the doctor is playing a prank on him. Kerfox then speaks and says, "Do you guys just have like this whole inside joke going around just fucking around with me today?" The roach doctor slams his fist on the table and speaks, saying, "This is no joking matter, Kerfox. Your daughter is a threat to our very existence, and you need to take everything we say here seriously." Kerfox replies, saying, "Okay then, is that all the bad news and everything? Can we move on to the good news? Oh my gosh, what's going on today?" The roach doctor replies, saying, "Calm down, Kerfox, and no, that is unfortunately not all of the bad news. Her energy could become unstable either doing too much at one time or not getting enough sleep. In short, if she does not get enough rest, she will implode and destroy our entire universe. Kerfox begins to feel both a sense of shock and confusion. He honestly can't truthfully believe anything that he's hearing, yet he sees that the roach doctor in front of him is being 100% serious. Kerfox replies saying, "There is no actual fucking way that baby can destroy the whole fucking universe. What the hell are you guys on?" The roach doctor replies, "You have noticed her yellow energy, have you not, yes? It is an unknown energy, and it has the power to literally destroy anything. Not only that, we also found that the older that she gets, the more powerful her energy will become. As she gets much older, she could potentially destroy multiple universes." Kerfox replies saying, "Wait a second, there's multiple universes?" Roach Doctor replies, "It seems I have said too much. Anywho, on to the last of the bad news. It would seem that an evil presence tried to make one of our doctors kill her." Hearing this frightens Kerfox. He then replies saying, "Wait, that has to be the same damn thing that spoke to me at the park! Oh my gosh, is she okay?" The Roach Doctor replies saying, "That leads into our first bit of good news. Your daughter is by all means invincible. The rogue doctor failed to kill her, and he is now detained." Kerfox replies saying, "Holy hell, it's still trying to kill her. Hold on, do you know anything about that mysterious voice and why it wants her dead so badly?" The Roach Doctor replies, "I cannot divulge much about that. That was a strict order by our lead commander. A statement will be put out to the general public warning against it, however, later." Kerfox replies, "Aren't you guys actually gonna do anything about it, though? I mean, come on, I know you're a government official and everything, you need to keep secrets, but just putting out a general statement's not gonna stop something like this." The Roach Doctor replies, "We have tried, but many have fallen and have never came back." The Roach Doctor begins to have a saddened expression. Kerfox replies saying, "Wait a second, so you're saying that this thing has already killed a bunch of GHL soldiers?" The Roach Doctor replies, "That is as much as I will say." The Roach Doctor then puts back on a stern expression. The Roach Doctor continues speaking and says, "On to the next bit of good news. Despite the baby being a danger to all of existence, you will be able to raise her properly as a father. This normally would not be possible with most dangerous creatures, but our top commander has given us orders to release her. He has also personally written you a letter that he wishes for you to read." The Roach Doctor looks over to the stack of paper, picks out the letter, and then hands it over to Kerfox. Kerfox reads the letter. The letter reads, "Don't panic too much, chap, but this is indeed the leader of the GHL. I must extend my thanks for letting that little baby escape her fate. If she would have went on the bloody path that she was bound for, she would have never even had a life. However, you have afforded her that opportunity. Make sure you raise the wee thing well." The letter ends there, and it isn't signed by anybody. Kerfox speaks and says, "This is seriously from the leader of the galactic military. This, it's a letter, alright, but, I kinda would have expected it to be a little bit more professional. They didn't even sign it." The Roach Doctor speaks and says, "Our leader wants to keep their identity secret. Now, before you sign the paper certifying your right to take her into your custody, you need to look over these medical evaluations. I've told you a majority of them, but there are several things that are very important to know." The Roach Doctor hands over Kerfox several papers. Kerfox skims through them to see if he finds anything new he hasn't already heard about. The only thing that he finds out of the ordinary is the fact that it says that the baby doesn't need anything to eat. Kerfox speaks and says, "Are you guys really sure she doesn't need any food or anything? I kind of find that hard to believe, even though there's been a lot of things I've already found hard to believe so far." The Roach Doctor replies saying, "These results are accurate. She needs nothing but sleep just to stay alive. You can try feeding her, but she'll just spit everything out. She really dislikes food. With that out of the way, though, go ahead and sign these papers so you can take custody of her and take her home." Kerfox replies, "Oh my gosh, finally." Kerfox signs the papers and hands them back to the doctor. The doctor uses a scanner to make copies and hands the copies over to Kerfox. The doctor speaks to Kerfox and says, "Make sure you keep hold of these papers. They are very important." Kerfox replies saying, "Will do, Doc." Kerfox follows the doctor out of the office to receive the baby. They walk into a nursery area where there are a bunch of babies asleep and awake. They eventually find the little girl, and she is wide awake. As soon as she spots Kerfox, she begins to reach out and cry. Kerfox picks the baby up, and she falls asleep in his arms yet again. Kerfox then speaks and says, "Oh my gosh, I really am starting to feel like a father right now. You really did miss me, didn't you?" The doctor then speaks and says, "Oh yes, I did forget to ask. What will you name the baby? After all, it'll be needed for the birth certificate that's going to be mailed to you." Kerfox thinks about the baby's name for a moment. He then comes up with a name that he's happy with. Kerfox replies to the roach doctor saying, "Her name's gonna be Amina Hammond. Amina was my grandmother's name." "Ah, yes, I see. So that's A-M-A-N-A, right?" Kerfox replies saying, "Yep." The roach doctor then speaks and says, "Alright, Mr. Kerfox, that should be everything. Have a nice day. And stay safe." Kerfox walks out of the hospital and puts the baby back in her car seat. He then proceeds to drive home. Surprisingly, on the way there, the baby remains asleep. Kerfox figures that the experience that it went through at the medical facility probably made it more used to being separated. Kerfox then decides to call Burdock to update him on the situation. Burdock picks up and Kerfox explains everything that happened. After explaining, Burdock speaks and says, "Huh, makes sense why it took you so long to call back." Kerfox replies saying, "Getting everything set up today is going to be a chore. I'm going to see if my parents can watch the baby if they're not busy. If not, I guess I'll hire somebody to do it." Burdock replies saying, "Well, you know what they say, Kerfox, it pays not to be single. And, speaking of not being single, one of my coworkers recently had one of their kids. It's just baby mania around here recently." Kerfox replies saying, "Well, I'm gonna let you go, Burdock. I just need to focus on driving home and, getting everything organized for today." Burdock replies saying, "See you later, bud." Kerfox hangs up and continues driving home. He finally arrives and parks his car in his garage. And this, dear viewer, is where we end our story for the time being, for the next chapter takes place many years later, and with a different family.